I'm going to stand between the CEOs talking. So I'm going to be very, very brief regarding the findings from the report. And I'm going to pick up only a few things. And I will deliberately, Mr. Kamath, with your permission, pick up only the more provocative things. Just to, in the interest of time and in the interest of discussion. So, we have said a lot about digital banking, its promise, etc. It boils down to these four things. Number one is to engage the customers on digital channels for higher engagement and sales. And then I will make my provocative comment here that I feel our industry right now talks about the lower cost first. Engagement is not really the primary thinking when we think about digital channels. And when I mean engagement, how do you measure that the customer is engaged? The measure of whether the customer is engaged is whether we are able to generate leads out of these channels, so-called transaction channels. So that has not yet come into the vocabulary of our Indian banking, and that needs to change, because if we are going to just treat digital channels as channels for transaction, people will move over to digital channels and there will be nobody coming to branch, very good, but then we won't be able to increase sales. So, number one. Number two, digitize various processes to improve efficiency. Everybody talks about sales back office. We find that there is a huge opportunity in credit collections and monitoring, which is of course the need of the hour for the industry, and administrative functions, which is sort of an area where light has not been thrown so much as to how much we can improve the efficiency of administrative functions with thinking about it differently. Third is to create propositions to attract the digitally savvy, which is there's a very large customer base which is growing very fast, people who are very happy to do many things digitally, and they are very digitally savvy. They are not necessarily only young people, so banks can create propositions to attract them and to grow very rapidly. And finally, the point that we spoke in front of the governor, which is there is a real possibility, but then for that banks need to work together to eradicate cash. Now, just a few data points I would like to throw, which have come out of this study that has been done for FIBAC. On this chart, all these dots are different banks in our country, and on the y-axis you're seeing balance per active account in the bank, balance per account, in savings account, and on the x-axis is total transactions per active account. This is real data. There are banks who have very high transacting customers, and there are banks who've got very high balances per account, and they are correlated quite heavily. Now, this has been known for some time in the industry, but it has profound implications that actually it is the transactions which take away CASA, and CASA is something that all bankers really love. So it is important to understand what is the underlying driver and how digital technology could fundamentally change some of these things in terms of how to get CASA. So here is today, this is financial year 14 based on benchmarking study. Today 18% of the total transactions in our industry are digital, and by financial year 20 we will have 40 to 50% depending upon how aggressive the industry goes. The fact of the matter is digital transactions are growing at 40 to 50%. So if a bank needs to increase its share of transactions in order to increase share of CASA, we need to increase or consolidate our position in digital transactions, because they are the only ones which are growing anyways, and they don't include ATM and CTM, by the way. So there is a paradigm shift. Many people have grown up believing that you need to canvass deposits and then you give payments as a free thing. Checkbook is free and mobile banking is free and so on and so forth. The new paradigm is it's on its head. Payment is a service that banks provide, and because they provide very high quality payment service, CASA floats comes in. And this is a very important new paradigm to be accepted, because that's the only way one can imagine and deal with the new competition in form of payment banks and others that is supposed to come. Now, another very important fact I would like to highlight here. So, as a part of this study, FICCI did a survey of 1,000 small businesses. So we wanted to understand small businesses. Why is it that they don't adopt technology or they adopt technology? And we found that on this chart, this is the result of the survey from 1,000 customers. Number of channels used by the customer is the number of banking channels used by the customer and number of products from the primary bank. So as you get your customers to adopt more and more primary channels, more and more digital channels, the number of products you're able to sell to that customer also goes up. And it goes up by 6 or 7 fold. Now you can imagine that this customer uses more digital channels, is probably transacting more, so more balances and more cross-sell of new products. And that's where all these bold projections of profitability that we have been making since morning are coming from. And this is the power of digital, which goes much, much beyond just tool applications. Okay, now this is where we are starting, our industry is starting here. On current accounts and savings account, what is the penetration level? Or what percentage of accounts are actually using different channels? Point of sale, 5.6% of savings account in the industry is using. Internet, 3%. Current account, 9%. So I just want to highlight, current account customers are the highest users of internet, or for that matter, any digital channel, that's there. And then mobile for all is top. We are at 1.6 or 1.7%. And that's why we call to the governor and to the industry that we need to work together. We know we've made a lot of strides on USSD, but it's not enough. Ultimately digital technology is about user interface and the ease of use, and until the transaction will happen only with the knowledge of mobile phone number, it is not going to increase the penetration, and other countries have done it, so we don't have any excuse. If you go to UK, you can actually transfer money just by knowing mobile phone number, and within 3 months, 1 million people have shifted to that platform. So it's really for us to do something about it. But I want to spend 1 more minute on the current accounts, because in all this discussion about digital, there is a myth that it's about retail, and the business customers get left out in this discussion, and that's where a lot of value is there. Before I come to what needs to be done, this survey, we asked the customers, how many times the bank has come to talk to you about digital channels, and this is the 1,000 customers talking about. So about 70% of them say that, don't remember when my bank came to introduce me to the digital channels that they have. And then on the y-axis you can see those customers use 1 or 2 digital channels. Then the customers, 11% said the bank came once, and then about 19% said the bank came many times. And you can see the effort has direct correlation to how many channels they use, and of course we've talked about what it does to the profitability. So some of the observations from outside, some of them are a bit provocative, but a bit deliberately. I think the industry is too busy opening accounts. We feel that onboarding the customer digital channel, we will do later, and the later never comes. The onboarding processes are always very, very cumbersome. So customer, and that is a very key requirement to really change the process to get the customers onboarded. The organizational ownership. Now these are the second layer issues which are very important. The power of a person managing the branch in a bank is always much higher than the power of the person handling digital channels. And if next 5 years is something that we were to look at, I think this power structure has to change. This is a phenomenal shift and change in the bank, the way it has been run. And that's what Mr. Khan was talking about in terms of mindsets. Channels are designed for transactions, they are not designed for sales. I don't think many CEOs ask people who are running channel, okay, so you launched this new thing, how do you measure the engagement, how are you getting the sales? Nobody asks it. And then finally there's disproportionate attention on savings accounts, and then current account customers who are actually much more keen to do it because they are much more savvy in terms of wanting to reduce their costs, because they are businessmen after all, and they use internet for their sales. They use internet to generate their sales. They are sitting there to get it done. I think we need to do more. Just a few more insights from this survey that I'd like to put to the panel's attention. So this is this chart is showing for different types of banks what is the number of savings bank account opened per metro or urban branch in 1 year. As you can see, there is a stagnancy. There is actually between last year and this year, this number came down a bit for the industry as a whole. There is a need to look at how with digital we can improve the efficiency of branch network in terms of generating more business, especially because, just as statistic, 36% of total net incremental savings account came from semi-urban and rural areas. 36% is a very sizable number, and that is a dispersed market. We will not have the ability to open as many branches to really access all of them. So that is number one. This is some experience around when we use digital technology really to improve the quality of sales. We've seen as much as 35% increase in productivity, reduction in turnaround time, and so on and so forth. Another picture from the survey. This is the back office staff. So how many people out of 100 people in a bank are actually sitting in back office? We noticed that the private sector banks are about 13.3%, and actually year on year now it is starting to reduce. So it is 13.3, now it was 14% earlier. So it's coming down. So clearly there is a trend in private sector to say we have centralized too much, or we have centralized, now we have to optimize the back office. The public sector is stagnant at 3.5, 4. And it's not improving because I think public sector has centralized as much as they could, and now the next wave of centralization is very difficult because it requires organizational change. And so the question is for public sector whether they can directly leapfrog to a digitized back office which does not require that much of movement of people, but actually is quite straight through. So this is very profound implication for both the sectors. Now my last chart is, this is the number of administrative staff in the bank as a percent of total staff. So if you have 100 people, how many are doing admin role? And there you can see we range between 10.3 to 14.5. Our experience has been that about 10% is optimum. So that means about 10 to 20% people can come out for more productive purposes compared to what we have. So very, very transparent performance management systems, optimum resource allocations, re-engineering of administrative processes is something where we've not yet shown the light. Last slide. Technology spend in India. It's a very interesting slide, and hopefully we'll have some comment from the panel on this. So private sector, technology spend as a percentage of revenue is coming down for the last 3 years, and public sector is going up. This is quite interesting because obviously there is a huge amount of technology expenditure required to keep up with the technology digital trends. However, the fact is that digital technology is not very costly, and hence I will not be surprised that you don't really have to bet your bank in order to become more digitally alive, if you will. What we need is a different type of technology, which is where the crux of the issue is. The digital technology pays enormous amount of emphasis on whatever solutions we design. It should be either employee-centric for employees to adopt or customer-centric for customers to adopt, and that doesn't happen. So we find that a lot of investment goes into technology tool, new thing is developed, and people are not using it, and customers are not using it. That's because the design is not human-centered, and that knowledge has to now come back into the banks. It can't be outsourced, and that's a very big issue. That unless we bring some of this capability back into the bank, all the banks will look very similar. And the other thing is, the IT departments are used to asking, give me the final design, then I will start working on the project. That's not possible. If we have to do human-centered design, it has to be iterative. So you have to start implementing before finalizing the system requirements. So this is a new iterative methodology of developing technology, which is something that we need to really adopt if we are to really get the benefit of all what is promised by digital technology. And last point is, as Mr. Kamath mentioned, it is very difficult. It is not easy because as we start getting to doing it, there are so many hurdles that we feel coming. One is, of course, the design itself is not human-centered. So while we spend a lot of time in designing it and rolling out something, it doesn't yield the benefits because employees don't adopt. So salesperson is not fully using the tab that we've created, and hence the productivity doesn't go. Risk perception is a big issue. There are always more people in the banks who are worried about what will happen, what new thing can come up, risk of the known and unknown unknowns, and so on and so forth. And that really retards the process. IT department normally does not have the capacity. We are told, look, we have 150 projects already going on. You are 150 first, best of luck. Whether the vendors have the capabilities to match up. Then always there are so many stakeholders that have to work together to make any new change happen. It really takes a lot of time and energy. Most important, CEO's personal time to really drive it. There is value leakage between design and execution. So by the time you're able to roll it out to 1,000 branches, the design is not the same that you wanted to. And finally, all of these changes are led to compete with BOU, the quarterly targets. And I have heard many times that we intellectually agree with whatever you're doing, but we somehow are not able to find the urgency to do it, which is, I think, the biggest enemy. So many banks are finding a new route to do it, which is to say we'll isolate and ring fence a bank in a bank. It's not necessarily a different legal entity, but a separate team which is asked to think completely afresh from as if the bank didn't exist. So incumbent banks will be typically universal. This team, the bank in a bank team, is targeted at digitally savvy customers, while the incumbent banks have to digitize their legacy, while this attacker bank is creating processes completely from scratch. And while the incumbent banks have the branch at the core and digital channels are alternate, the attacker bank has only digital channels and maybe a few branches to demonstrate. This is what many banks in the world are trying. Not necessarily this is the only way, but some of them are very successful in breaking out of this loop and the challenge of change management. I'd like to end with just one quote, which is the primary quote for the report this year as well. At first, people refuse to believe that a strange new thing can be done, and then they hope it can be done, and then they see it can be done, and then it's done, and all the world wonders why it was not done before. Thank you.